tonight, thousands more people are ordered to evacuate as a devastating wildfire spreads closer to their Santa Barbara homes.
All hell broke loose.
And powerful and deadly storms tear through the Midwest. I'm Maggie Rodriguez. Also tonight, is a turnaround coming in the job market? The pace of layoffs falls to the lowest level in 6 months. Testimony from the grave. Illinois tests a new law to try an ex-cop for murder. And a reunion of the class of '86 brought together by a friend in need. Steve Hartman's Assignment America.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening. Katie is on assignment. It is an all-out war in Southern California. 2,500 firefighters against one powerful wildfire still raging out of control. Strong winds are fanning the flames, spreading closer to more and more Santa Barbara homes. Flames so intense, one fire official said it's like facing a blowtorch. The fire has burned more than 4 square miles and damaged or destroyed more than 75 homes. 36,000 people have been urged, in many cases ordered, to evacuate. Once again tonight, Ben Tracy is on the scene. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, Maggie. You know, this is all that's left of another home here in Santa Barbara tonight, destroyed by these fires. And you just mentioned the intensity of this blaze. Well, how about this? Hot enough to melt metal. You know, today firefighters hoped this would be a turning point, that they'd finally get a handle on the blaze. But instead, it just pushed closer to the edge of downtown Santa Barbara and thousands of more homes.
It's making a strong push to the west.
When wicked overnight winds gave this blaze new life, there was only one way to describe it.
Literally last night, all hell broke loose.
The fire's ominous approach could be seen for miles, then felt in an instant as flames tore through everything in their path. Wind gusts topping 50 miles per hour turned this into a roller coaster of a firefight.
Starts off, looks kind of calm, thinking we're getting the upper hand. Turns out we're not.
These winds were supposed to die down today, but as you see, they haven't. And the problem is right down there. Those flames just get whipped up the side of the canyon right into someone's home.
Nearly 900 people have fled to evacuation centers. Bettina Johnson and her 90-year-old mother arrived at 2 a.m.
There's always that last bad night, and I think it'll be tonight, because then the winds are going to stop.
Yet now there seems to be no end to a fire season that used to run from just May to October.
The reality is we're in a year-round fire season in Southern California. That's probably going to be the way it is for a long time to come.
3 years of drought and more home construction in fire-prone areas are fueling spending on California's wildfires, up 150% in the past decade to more than $1 billion a year. The Santa Barbara fire has already cost $2.6 million.
So what room was this?
This was our TV room, family room.
Larry Lavelle knows firefighters are doing all they can. They rescued his files and his flat-screen TV, but his house is lost. Despite the destruction, Larry says there's only one option.
Start cleaning up and thinking about putting another house here.
Now, thankfully, the weather is already changing. It's about 85 degrees right now compared to 100 degrees at this time yesterday. The forecast is calling for cooler temperatures, lighter winds tomorrow. Hopefully that will finally give firefighters a chance to contain this blaze. Maggie?
Hopefully. Ben Tracy in Southern California. Thank you, Ben. Another part of the country is also feeling nature's power. Thunderstorms tore through the Midwest today. At least 4 deaths are reported. At least 50 homes damaged or destroyed. Missouri was hit hardest. In Dallas County, high winds tossed a home from its foundation, throwing an elderly couple 100 feet into an open field. He suffered a fatal heart attack.
They were very good people. She's in the hospital now recovering, hopefully from her injuries. I haven't heard the status, but unfortunately we lost Ted.
In Springfield, the roof of a school collapsed due to a severe thunderstorm, leaving 4 students with minor injuries. While in Kansas, winds topping 80 miles an hour left a 30-mile path of destruction north of Wichita.
And we heard tons of wind. We thought it was a tornado.
And in New Albany, Kansas, the high winds wrapped a trailer around a tree, killing a 54-year-old woman inside. But there is new hope the sun may be starting to peek through those economic storm clouds tonight. The government today said unemployment jumped to just shy of 9% in April. That is the highest rate in more than a quarter century. And the economy shed 539,000 more jobs. But, and here is the ray, that was the smallest number of job losses in 6 months. And that gave Wall Street a boost. The Dow is now up 31% in the past 2 months. Anthony Mason has more on the improving jobs picture.
As bad as the unemployment numbers were for April, it was still the economy's best showing since last October.
I think these are going to be the last really bad job numbers that we get.
But economist Mark Zandi says layoffs will continue for a while. 5.7 million jobs have already disappeared since the recession began.
And when it's all said and done, a year from now, we'll probably have lost about 7.5, 8 million jobs.
The unemployment rate for adult men is now more than 9%. For African Americans, it's hit 15%. And for teenagers, it's more than 21%. And if you include workers who've given up looking or been forced to take part-time jobs, the so-called underemployed rate is now nearly 16%. That's a record. President Obama today asked states to allow the out of work to go back to school without losing their unemployment benefits.
Education is the single best bet we can make.
Jenny Ewing, laid off from a marketing job in January, is now studying international business relations at Chapman University College in California.
With what's been going on in the economy, you have to keep a diverse set of skills.
The government was one of the few actually hiring in April, as it added 66,000 census workers. The Maryland crabbing industry is also hiring, looking for part-time crab pickers. But with caps on guest workers, many plants have had to close because they can't get enough help.
It looks like our doors will be closed because we cannot find our labor force to process the seafood.
Even though the unemployment rate in the region is 11%, the $10 to $12 an hour jobs are going begging.
Most people nowadays just feel that this is not something they really want to do.
But better jobs may be hard to come by for a while. Businesses aren't expected to begin significant hiring again until this time next year. Maggie?
All right, Anthony Mason, thank you, Anthony. In other news tonight, President Obama urged Pakistan's president this week to do more to fight the Taliban. Today, Pakistan's military began a full-scale offensive to drive militants from the Swat Valley. And as the Army and Air Force move in, Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Lara Logan tells us as many as 500,000 civilians are trying to get out.
Some walked, others packed into buses and trucks. Thousands more jammed the roads. A mass exodus from the Swat Valley and surrounding areas as the Pakistani army takes on Taliban militants. The army says the Taliban is trying to stop civilians getting out, using them as human shields.
They are on the run and trying to block the exodus of civilians from the area.
Pakistan claims to have killed about 140 militants in just the last 36 hours. The controversial peace deal the government struck with militants 3 months ago, now in tatters.
The armed forces have been called in to eliminate the militants and terrorists.
In the wake of the fighting, a trail of burned-out vehicles, shattered homes, and a growing humanitarian crisis. Tens of thousands pouring into camps like this one.
At the end of the day, the question is, can you force a retreat of the Taliban and force a retreat where they are no longer popular and no longer controlling territory?
Taking back this area from the Taliban is only part of the battle. In the past, the government hasn't been able to keep them out. Part of the challenge for the Pakistani government is maintaining popular support. That means they have to limit the cost to innocent civilians while battling a ruthless enemy, Maggie.
Lara Logan in Washington. Thank you, Lara. In Afghanistan, meantime, a dispute has erupted over how many civilians were killed this week in fighting between U.S. forces and the Taliban. New video surfaced today showing the aftermath. Local officials there claim 147 civilians were killed by an American airstrike. But our David Martin says U.S. military investigators believe about 50 people died. They say half were civilians, and some of them were killed by the Taliban. Still, in an interview today, Afghanistan's president demanded that the U.S. stop all airstrikes in his country. Meanwhile, unmanned planes are in the skies over Afghanistan every day, hunting down insurgents. 60 Minutes got a first-hand look at how the Predator works. Here again, Lara Logan.
This is how good the image is from a Predator at around 10,000 feet. What you're looking at is Creech Air Force Base, and I'm on the ground. Even though I know there's a Predator directly overhead, I still can't hear a thing, pretty much like an insurgent on the ground in Afghanistan or Iraq. And if you look up to the exact spot where we're being told the Predator is flying right now, there's nothing but clouds and blue sky. The Predator is tracking our 60 Minutes team as we leave the flight line. It's this ability that makes it difficult for enemy fighters to escape. Colonel Chambers showed us exactly how these aircraft do that. In this video declassified for 60 Minutes, a group of insurgents in Iraq had just ambushed a U.S. convoy. They were trying to get away, but the Predator was watching.
This is a hot gun.
And what do you mean by hot gun?
Well, it's literally in this scene, white is hot. And that white spot that this guy is carrying is actually a hot gun. So it's been fired, and so now we can go ahead and strike these targets.
You can see Lara's full report on the Predator Sunday on 60 Minutes. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, American citizens forced to move to a foreign land when their illegal immigrant parents are deported. It's one of the most contentious issues in this country, illegal immigration. An estimated 12 million undocumented immigrants are currently in the U.S., and a recent study said nearly 3/4 of their children were born here, making them American citizens. But what becomes of them when their parents are deported? Here's Seth Doan.
Josiah Sachoa learned to skateboard in California, but 8 months ago he was forced to move his familiar pastime to a faraway place. Home is now the dusty small town of San Lucas, Mexico, because his parents were deported.
I was really depressed mostly because I had my life over there. I was born over there.
Born in the United States, 12-year-old Josias is a U.S. citizen. His parents are not, and his dad, Argel, feels guilty.
In a way, it's my fault that I had him over there.
Life over there was good. Argel made $40,000 a year working at a major bank. Mom Liliana styled hair at a local salon. They'd lived in the U.S. for 17 years and had even hired an attorney to try to become residents legally.
I know that it's not our country, but we want to have better place, better life.
Liliana and Argel Ochoa were just two of the more than 360,000 people deported from the United States last year. Roughly 2/3 of those deported, about 235,000 people, were returned to Mexico, to a home that for many could not feel more foreign. So how different are the studies here?
It's all in Spanish.
Is that tough for you?
Yes.
And for his parents, it's tough to find work. Argel leaves home every day to look for a job, knowing he'd be lucky to make $100 a week. The family of 5 is living in a relative's home, starting from scratch.
They are American. They want to live over there, and it's so frustrating because we want to give them
what they want.
What they want.
Once a week, the Ochoas participate in a Mexican government pilot program to help families talk through their troubles with a volunteer therapist.
She showed me that there's nice places here, that it's not all ugly.
For now, the Ochoas will try to put down roots again.
Over here, this is the place that I want to build my house.
This will be home.
Home.
But eventually, Josias hopes to attend college in the U.S., a family forever divided by two countries, determined not to be pulled apart. Seth Doan, CBS News, San Lucas, Mexico.
The statue that greeted millions of immigrants to our shores will once again be fully open to visitors. The Obama administration said today the Statue of Liberty's crown will reopen July 4th. Visitors will be allowed to climb the 168 steps and look out its 25 windows. The statue's interior was closed after 9/11 for security and safety reasons. And the White House today released this publicity photo of Air Force One flying over Lady Liberty. Remember the controversy it generated 2 weeks ago when the photo shoot caught New Yorkers off guard and brought flashbacks of 9/11? That flight cost taxpayers more than $300,000. Today, This photo also cost the White House aide who arranged it his job. Coming up next, Drew Peterson. Will the words of his ex-wife come back to haunt him now that he's been charged with her murder? Now to the case against Drew Peterson. The 55-year-old former Illinois police officer has been all over the media since his fourth wife disappeared mysteriously 2 years ago. Tonight, he is in custody, charged with murdering wife number 3. And as Dean Reynolds tells us, prosecutors plan to use her words against him.
Murder suspect Drew Peterson was in a joking mood as he was led in shackles to court. 3 square meals a day, a spiffy outfit, and all this bling, he crowed to reporters a day after his arrest for killing his third wife. The 55-year-old ex-cop with a record of ill-fated marriages to much younger women will be arraigned May 18th in the death of Kathleen Savio Peterson. Originally ruled an accident, it was changed to a homicide upon further investigation.
We've always felt that it was there was foul play involved.
The renewed investigation came after Peterson's next wife, Stacy, disappeared a year and a half ago. Peterson has very publicly professed his innocence and seems to relish his notoriety.
I hope everybody sees that I'm innocent of everything that I've been thought of doing.
To seek conviction, prosecutors may rely on a new law tailored to this specific case. It allows what is called hearsay testimony if it shows a witness was killed to keep her silent. That would permit allegedly damning statements from either woman about Peterson, such as what Kathleen wrote in a petition for court protection back in 2002. "He wants me dead," she wrote, "and if he has to, he will burn down the house just to shut me up."
In essence, what you're basically allowing the victim of a violent crime to do is to testify from the grave.
But legal experts say the move may be unconstitutional because Peterson would be denied the right to confront his accusers in open court.
To hang their hat on just the introduction of these statements from the grave, as you've described them, is really a tough way to try a murder case.
And today, Drew Peterson appeared to agree.
Can you say, Drew?
Dean Reynolds, CBS News, Chicago.
Still ahead, everyone should have a friend like her. Steve Hartman's Assignment America is next. This is graduation season, when young people move on to the next stage of their lives, and even the closest of friends can drift apart. That is where our final story tonight begins. It then takes a surprising turn. Here's Steve Hartman with Assignment America.
The class of '86 at Grant High School in Los Angeles was a tight-knit bunch, which is why everyone was so shaken when 9 years ago word got around that one of their classmates had died. Pat Chalky was right fielder on the city championship baseball team. A good-looking kid, and just plain good.
I mean, he was pure. He had a heart of gold.
He got along with everyone.
He was the kind of guy that would go through a wall for you.
His friends held a memorial at the reunion.
There was a picture of him and a couple of poems and some candles were lit.
So you can understand their dismay.
You're like, what? How is this even possible?
Turns out, for the last 9 years, Pat has actually been in a nursing home, suffering from what may be a rare kind of multiple sclerosis that his mother Rose says came on so quickly he never had time to tell anyone.
After 20 days, he lost his ability to speak, to walk, and to eat.
Except for a few hand gestures, Pat had no way to communicate and basically fell off the map. Until a classmate named Lori Green found out he was not only alive,
your mom the best nurse,
but aware and appreciative.
You got a thumbs up, Mama. He understands everything, and I felt like I just can't not help him. I can't just sit and watch.
No one's quite sure how the rumor got started that Pat died, but there's no question about who put an end to it. The day Lori found out, she got on Facebook and told everyone she knew to tell everyone they knew that Pat was alive and they should get down and see him.
Lori is absolutely relentless, but in a good way.
Pat went from having no friends in 9 years to roomfuls at once.
They all came by 15, 20 at the time.
15, 20 at a time?
Yes, they were all here in the patio, and Patrick was in heaven.
Remember Tori?
Lori still wants Pat to get visitors, but now, more importantly, she wants him to get better.
I hope that I can cure him. I don't know if it's possible, but that's my goal. Good Girls PR. Hi. Hi, hi, hi.
To that end,
how are you?
Lori has temporarily turned her public relations company into a Cure Pat Chalky fundraising machine.
Another fundraiser for my friend Pat.
She has already raised more than $15,000 and has helped Pat get in to see a new doctor, an expert, who is now reevaluating the case to see if Pat really has MS, or is it something else, perhaps something treatable.
And I'm going to keep going until a doctor tells me something new and that there's something they can do.
She came down from heaven for me and Patrick.
And I can only assume that Patrick agrees, because that sign he's making, it means love.
See, this is our hero.
Steve Hartman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
If you would like to help Pat and Lori, you can go to her website, goodgirlsgive.org, or go to cbsnews.com, click on Assignment America, and we have a link to take you there. And that is the CBS Evening News for this Friday. Katie will be back on Monday. Jeff Glor will be here tomorrow. And Sunday on Face the Nation, Bob Schieffer has an exclusive interview with former Vice President Dick Cheney. I'm Maggie Rodriguez. I'll see you Monday morning on The Early Show. Have a good weekend.